Today we've got a maiden flight on the FlightLine Corsair 1600mm. A little bit of an old school bird, however, Corsair is my favorite warbird, so figure we go ahead and scoop this one up. Last year you'll notice I had a video of a maiden flight on the FMS 1700. I still have that airplane, so at a later date we're going to do a comparison between the FlightLine Corsair and the FMS Corsair. So if you're not following the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Be on the lookout for that video. We've got it set up, show you some of the electronics that we're using for this flight, and then we'll go ahead and get it up in the air. So as I mentioned, it's the FlightLine 1600mm wingspan, flies on 6S. You can look underneath the cowling here. We've got a SMC 6S 6200. We've got an AR637T receiver, and then we've got a satellite here on the back shelf. So we're going to be using that for connectivity. Radio we're using today is the Radiomaster TX16S Max with the AG01 gimbals. Overall, look at this plane, just my initial thoughts on it. One, you notice we did the polyacrylic minwax, really shiny, definitely makes the bird stand out, should look better in the air. The setup of this plane, you can tell it's a little bit older bird with the push rod linkages you've seen there on the servos. You know, it's got a rod going all the way from the front to the back instead of having the servos right close to the control surfaces. And also the you know, the way that it goes together, you can tell it's a little bit older design, the way that the wing bolts up. But just some minor stuff, and just telling you all a little bit about it. You've got one landing light here on the leading edge, and then you got the wing tips on the side. I'd say the really only downfall I didn't like about this plane, or probably visual aesthetics, is the graphics. The graphics are definitely subpar on this plane. However, you know, you can buy Cali graphics or just put these on, and I think the polyacrylic minwax really makes them stand out a little bit more. But you notice you can kind of see the bleed through of the paint underneath it. So just minor things. You've got these little antennas that actually just slide in and just fit snug. You can glue them, or just, this should be firm enough just to put them in there. So we've done enough talking about the FlightLine Corsair. Let's get it up in the air and get this maiden completed. All right, so we got it up. Try to nose over just a little bit. Still needs some up. I'm in low aileron, low elevator. Controls are fairly good. Got a little bit of wind blowing it around today. And it don't, you know, they say this bird's a lot faster than the other one, but I'm not seeing it so far. However, I am flying it into the wind today. I can tell that the CG is definitely going to have to go back, because when I get slow, like right here, the nose just, it wants to drop down a little bit, not a ton, but I can definitely tell it. It's got good thrust. Let's try to maybe do a little climb right here. Roll it over. The CG feels pretty good. Trying to trim it out a little bit with the wind. Trying to see if it's actually rolling or if it's pitching up, but it feels pretty good once the gear is up. So it must have just been a trim issue. I put a little bit of up in it, but I guess it needed some more than was in there. So we'll bring it down here, do a little one of y'all to the left on me, and that might be the crosswind that we have out here. So I'm gonna actually try to put the gyro on low, see what it feels like. Go ahead and do a little pass here while we got some battery. Definitely flying into some wind now. So that wind, that AS3X low rates, holding it in pretty good. It still seems like it wants to yaw to the left, and you can kind of see on takeoff it wanted to do it. Maybe a little bit more than the P factor on it. I'm gonna go high rate. Make a pass down here and see how it feels with the high rate on. It's definitely holding the attitude much better. So now we're straight into the wind because it went straight down the runway. You can see it's wanting to climb. So it feels pretty good overall. Let's go around and put the gear down. The wind's definitely picking up now. So we're gonna go ahead and put some flaps in, shoot some approaches. So let's bring it around. Definitely want to stay in power and keep the nose down. We'll bring it in. We got full flaps in. I'm about 60% power. So we'll go around the wind, try to catch us right at the end, but it's also getting slow, so you've seen that tail coming down. So let's bring it around. I'm actually going to go to elevator medium because it feels like we got quite a bit of weight on that nose. I did take out a couple of the nose weights to put that 6200 in here, but now we got a little less wind coming in. The nose is coming down. There we go. So that worked out on the second approach. The first approach didn't feel right. I felt like I was running out of elevator because it's coming down fairly hard on the elevator. So we went ahead and went to medium rate. Medium rate felt about right. I'm gonna do some trial and error in the future videos to see, or future flights for the next video for the flight review, to see if we can lighten it up with a 5200 because you probably get plenty of flight time. So let's take it over the bench and see how our results on the battery look and go over a few things I noticed in flight. Now we've got the maiden flight completed on the FlightLine Corsair. Let's talk about the maiden flight and some future changes we're going to look at. One is put it on the runway, took off. I noticed on the run up that we had the nose kind of pushing over a little bit, and I had some up elevator in there. So it may be CG purposes. This plane has weights in the cowling that you can take out, and being that we're running the bigger side of the battery they recommend, we'll probably take some of those out, if not all of them. Climbed out, pulled down a little bit. Once we got the gear up though, it leveled out, which these gears on the mains go aft. So that's going to pull the CG back just a little bit. And when I got in there, flew fairly well. I gave it a few clicks. I gave 7 clicks of up elevator. So even then, looking at it now, like I said, we might adjust the CG a little bit on this plane. Kind of hard to tell with the wind. It picked up to about 50, gusting about 15 to 20. So you know, it's a little hard to judge some of the things today. However, flew really solid. Power wise, felt pretty good. I was expecting a little bit more. However, you know, it is a warbird. It's not supposed to be a speed bird. Brought it in, did a couple of slow passes, one with AS3X off, one with low and one with high. Brought it in, tried to land it. You notice I did a touch and go and kind of went around on that first pass when we did the touch and go, because I did notice I felt like I was running out of elevator. I was on low rates. So I went to medium rate, brought it back in, and we put it down on the runway and let it roll out. You know, I really liked how the bird flew overall. It handled the wind good even without the gyro. Putting the gyro on, it definitely smoothed out the turbulence. Like I say, future flights, we're probably going to take some of the weights out of the nose, maybe move back. We're going to play with the CG some on this airplane, but you know, for an older bird, it did what it was supposed to on the maiden flight. Let's take a look at our battery. We flew for 5 minutes and we were on a 6-minute timer and had 2 minutes left. So we were up in the air for 4 minutes on the throttle, and we were in the air total for 5 minutes. On the battery, and this is a SMC 6200 LiHV, we're at 4.11. So we basically knocked off the high voltage charge plus a little bit, so more than enough. That being said, you know, I was kind of comparing this you know, a little bit towards the 1700 FMS Corsair, and this one being a little bit lighter, a little bit smaller, and not by much. You know, the fuselage is fairly close in size, but the wingspan's a fair amount smaller. Is this plane probably benefits flying it on a 5000 and keeping everything light. The other one with the FMS 1700, you got to put the 6200 to get the CG right. So this one coming in, I noticed it did nose down a fair amount. So that's why I'm kind of keying in and really putting that info out there that we're going to, you know, balance it out a little bit better for future flights. However, what I thought in my pre-flight check and setting it up is I'm wanting to get away from putting all these weights in the nose. So if I can go with a heavier battery instead of going with a smaller battery and weights, I'd rather do that. I just need to get the battery positioned correctly on a better day. So overall, I'm excited to get this thing dialed in, and they say look on the channel in the future for the flight comparison of the FlightLine Corsair 1600 and the FMS 1700 Corsair. I appreciate y'all watching today. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.